All right, start by trying the warm-up. Okay, first thing we want to do is we want to graph both lines. So the first line, we have y equals negative x plus 4. Let's go ahead and make that a little smaller. Y equals negative x plus 4. All right, so when we have negative x, that's like saying our slope is negative 1. Or another way to think about that is negative 1 over 1. So that means we're going to go down 1 and to the right 1, or we can go up 1 and to the left 1. And my y-intercept is going to be a positive 4, right? So then on the next equation, we have, I'm going to do this in blue, 2x minus 1 equals 2. Remember, this is in standard form. So in order for us to graph this, we're going to graph the x and y-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, we're just going to cover up the y, and we'll have 2x equals 2. I'm going to go ahead and write that. So we'll have 2x equals 2. And to find my y-intercept, I'm going to cover up the x. We're going to solve for the y. All right, so now it's going to be negative y equals 2. So we have negative y equals 2. Okay, to get x by itself, this is 2 times x, so we're going to use the inverse operation and divide by 2. The 2 is reduced to 1, so we're just left with x on the left-hand side, and 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. So my x-intercept is 1, and my y-intercept, right, we want to get that x by itself, so we're going to multiply both sides by negative 1. So we'll end up with a negative times a negative is a positive y, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, right? So we can go ahead and graph. We'll start with the standard form, right? So our x-intercept is just going to be 1, so I'm going to go to the right 1 and go ahead and mark my x-intercept. My y-intercept is going to be negative 2. So my line is going to look something like this. Another way to think about this is we're going to have a slope. Let's try that again. A slope of positive 2 over 1 with a y-intercept of negative 2. And my other equation is going to be a y-intercept of 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a slope of negative 1. So that means I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 1, down 1 and to the right 1. So it looks like, I'll graph this line really quick. My y-intercept is going to be where they cross, which is going to be the point 2, 2. Okay? All right, so that's our warm-up. We're going to be talking about substitution. So you should have remembered this from middle school, but we're going to go over it just to make sure. When we are talking about substitution, I am basically replacing a letter, so this y, so these, how they both equal to y, I can replace this y with that x right there. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this 4x for y. And we can say 4x equals negative 2x plus 30. Again, we're trying to find where they intersect. So we're looking for the point xy. So I'm going to solve for this, right? I want to get the x by itself. I have 2 x's, so I'm going to move the smaller of the 2. So I'm going to move that 2x by adding 2x to both sides. Negative 2 plus 2x's ends up being 0. So on the right-hand side, we just have 30. We bring that 30 down. And 4x plus 2x is going to be 6x. Get that x by itself, so we're going to divide by 6. So x equals 5, right? So for my final answer, we're going to write 5 here. And we're just going to substitute in. We're going to take this number now. We're going to take this 5 and plug it into either equation. I'm going to choose the second equation because it's easier to solve, right? So we have y equals 4. Instead of writing x, we're going to substitute in the 5. I'm taking that 5 and plugging it right in. So y is going to just be equal to 20. So our equation, our answer to this is 5, 20. Okay, so let's try it again. Again, I'm going to set this up They're both equal to y, so I can say negative 7x equals negative 5x plus 10. I like to move the smaller of the two x's, so I'm going to move the 7x. So we're going to end up with 2x plus 10 equals 0. So I just need to solve for x now. So we're going to minus 10 from both sides. So this is going to be negative 10 equals 2x. Divide by 2. So x is going to equal negative 5, right? Because the 2's cancel out, and negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So that is the x in this equation. So again, plug it back into one of your two original equations. So we're going to get y equals negative 7 times negative 5. Well, negative 7 times negative 5 is going to be positive 35. So we're going to be left with this. So we have negative 5, comma, positive 35. Okay, that's example 1. Let's go to the next page, example 2, right? So they're not always going to be as easy, right? We might get some mixed up things. We might get one of the equations be in standard form. It's still the same thing, right? So I'm still going to take, instead of, since it's already solved for y, I'm just going to plug in x, negative x for this y here. So we're going to have 10x plus 2, and I'm just going to write negative x equals 40. Now I'm just solving for x. We have 10x, simplify it, it's going to be minus 2x equals 40. Combine like terms, so we're going to have 8x equals 40, because 10 minus 2 is 8. Then we need to divide by 8. So we get x is equal to 5. Right, so there is our x. Again, just plug it into the easier of the two equations, right? So we're going to have y equals negative 5. So y is equal to negative 5, and my answer ends up being 5, negative 5. Okay, so again, go ahead and substitute this in. We're going to take, this is already solved for y. Don't mess with it. We're just going to take this 3x and plug it in for the y here. So we're going to have 10x minus 2y, but y is now 3x. So we'll get 10x minus 6x equals negative 16. Combine like terms, so we'll get 4x. 10 minus 6 is 4 equals negative 16. When you want to divide by 4, so x is equal to negative 4. Plug this in. All right, we're going to take this negative 4 and plug it in for this x here. So we're going to have y equals 3 times negative 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12, and we have a positive times a negative, so it's going to be negative 12. So it's going to be negative 4, negative 12. Right? So that's example 2. We only have one more example. So on the first one, see, that's starting to get a little more complicated, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take, but it's the same steps, right? So we have y and y. So I'm just going to take this part and substitute it in, right? So we're going to get 7x plus negative 6x minus 7 equals negative 3, right? Everything right here got plugged in for the y, okay? So this is, we want to combine like terms. We have 7x minus 6x is going to be just x minus 7 equals negative 3. Get the x by itself, so we're going to add 7 to both sides. So we have x equals negative 4. The nice thing is now we're just trying to solve for our y. So I'm going to plug in. This is already solved for my y on the top equation, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in. So we're going to get now y equals negative 6. We're not going to write the x. We're going to write 4 minus 7. So negative 6 times 4 is going to be negative 24. minus 7. Negative 24 minus 7 is going to be negative 31. Right, so go ahead and write that with your ordered pair. There's your answer. Okay, so here we have, this is solved for y here, so we're going to go ahead and plug that in into my other equation. So we're going to get negative 3x minus x minus 5. Let's go ahead and make that blue to try and really emphasize, hey, this is x minus 5 equals negative 19. All I'm doing is plugging it in, right? Go ahead and solve. So this is, remember, that's negative 1, so we're going to go ahead and distribute that negative 1 in. So we'll have negative x plus 5 equals negative 19. We have combined like terms, we'll get negative 4x plus 5 equals negative 19. All right, so from here, we're just solving, so it's now minus 5. We're trying to undo our addition and subtraction, so we're going to end up with negative 4x minus 24. We want to undo the multiplication by dividing. So we'll get x equals, this goes away, this is going to be a positive 6. Okay, so now you're going to plug this in. Take the 6 and plug it in for, let's go ahead and plug it in for, let's do the top equation. It doesn't really matter. So let's take a look. We'll have x, so instead of x, we're going to have 6. Whoops, let's try that again, sorry. I'm trying to keep all the numbers in the same color coordination. X minus 5, so we have 6 minus 5 equals 5. So 6 minus 5 is just going to be 1. So it's going to be 6 comma 1. Okay, all right, and that is substitution. The Delta Math practice is already posted. Please take a look at that, and I will see you tomorrow.